I knew something was wrong the moment I turned onto my street. The garage door was open. My garage. The one I always kept closed because inside was my pride and joy. My 1967 Ford Mustang, candy apple red. Chrome, so polished you could see your reflection. 5 years of weekends spent restoring every inch of that beauty. But the garage was empty. I pulled my truck into the driveway and sat there for a moment, staring at that empty space where my Mustang should have been. Maybe Denise took it to the car wash. She'd done that once before. Surprised me, though she'd complained the whole time about how much I spent on that old car instead of on her. I got out, walked to the front door, put my key in the lock. It didn't turn. I tried again. Nothing. The lock had been changed. My own house, the house I'd owned for 35 years. Long before I met Denise, and someone had changed the locks. I knocked, loud. "Denise, you home? The lock's not working." No answer. I walked around to the back, tried that door. Same thing, different lock. My key was useless. I pulled out my phone, called Denise, straight to voicemail, called again. Same thing. Then I tried texting. "Where's the Mustang? Why are the locks changed? Call me." The message showed delivered but not read. I waited 5 minutes, tried calling again. This time, a recorded message. "The number you are trying to reach has blocked you from calling or texting." Blocked. My own wife had blocked my number. I stood in my backyard, 55 degrees outside, light jacket on, and tried to understand what was happening. I'd been gone 4 days, visiting my brother Raymond up in Oregon. We'd gone fishing, caught up. Talked about old times. Raymond had insisted I stay the full weekend. "You never take time for yourself, Vince. Stay, relax. Denise will be fine." Now I was wondering if Raymond knew something I didn't. I called him. He answered on the first ring. "You home?" he asked. Not, "Hello." Not, "How was the drive?" Just, "You home?" "Yeah, Ray, the Mustang's gone. Locks are changed. Denise blocked my number. What the hell is going on?" "She did it then. I was hoping I was wrong." "Did what? What are you talking about?" "Come to the motel off Highway 9, room 17. We need to talk. Don't go to a neighbor's house. Don't make a scene. Just come here." Raymond. "Trust me, Vince. Room 17. I'm 20 minutes away. I'll meet you there." He hung up. I stood in my locked-out backyard and felt something I hadn't felt in decades. Real anger. The kind that makes your hands shake and your vision narrow. But I didn't make a scene, didn't bang on the door, didn't call the police. I got in my truck and drove to the Highway 9 motel, the kind of place that rents by the hour or the week, faded paint, cracked parking lot, but it was cheap and anonymous. Room 17 was on the ground floor. Door was open. Raymond was inside. He'd beaten me there somehow. Must have been close when I called. "Sit down," he said. "You're going to want to sit down. Welcome to Elder Justice Revenge Stories. Could you please tell us where you're watching from, and if this is your first time visiting this page, kindly subscribe and turn the notification bell on so you don't miss out on other stories. Trust me, you'll want to hear how this one ends." I sat on the edge of the bed. Raymond pulled out a chair. Sat facing me. "Your wife sold your car," he said. "Yesterday, got $30,000 for it, cash. The buyer came with a flatbed and took it this morning." The words didn't make sense. "She what?" "Sold it, posted it online 3 days ago, had multiple offers, took the highest one." "She can't sell my car. It's not hers, it's mine. My name on the title. My money that restored it. She forged your signature, told the buyer you were away on business, that you'd agreed to the sale. The guy didn't question it, just paid and took the car. How do you know this? Raymond pulled out his phone, showed me a screenshot, a listing on some classic car website. My Mustang. The description, Denise wrote, "Selling my husband's restored 1967 Mustang. He's ready to let it go. Perfect condition. $30,000 firm. She has no right." There's more. Raymond's face was grim. "She filed for divorce. Papers were served to the house yesterday. Since you weren't there, they left them with her. She accepted service on your behalf." "She can't do that." "She did. And Vince, she changed the locks because she's claiming the house. Says she's lived there 8 years, contributed to the household, and deserves to keep it in the divorce." My house. The house I bought in 1988 with money from my first business deal, long before Denise existed in my life. "There's more," Raymond continued. "She's got a boyfriend, guy named Bradley Hoffman, sells luxury cars, drives a leased Mercedes, lives in a fancy apartment he can barely afford. They've been seeing each other for at least 6 months. How do you know all this? Because you hired a private investigator 6 months ago, remember? You asked me to recommend someone. Said Denise was acting strange, staying out late, being secretive with her phone. You wanted to know if she was cheating. I did remember. I'd hired Rita Chen, former cop turned private investigator. I'd paid her $5,000 to follow Denise for a month. Rita sent me her final report when she couldn't reach you. You were off the grid fishing, no cell service. She said it was urgent, so she sent it to me with instructions to show you the moment you got back. Raymond pulled out a folder, handed it to me. Inside were photos. Denise and a man I didn't recognize, kissing in a parking lot, walking into a hotel, coming out 2 hours later, laughing, holding hands. There were bank statements, Denise's personal account I didn't know she had, deposits I didn't recognize, withdrawals for expensive dinners, hotels, gifts. There were text messages. Rita had somehow gotten access to Denise's phone records. The messages were explicit, intimate, plans to get rid of the old man and finally be together. She's been planning this, Raymond said. The divorce, selling the car, locking you out, all of it. She thinks you're broke, Vince. She thinks the car was your only real asset. She sold it to fund her new life with Bradley. I sat there holding the folder. Evidence of my wife's betrayal. My second wife. The woman I'd married 8 years ago because I was lonely. Because Carol had died and left a hole I thought Denise could fill. Carol, my first wife, the love of my life. She died 10 years ago. Cancer, slow and painful. I'd held her hand through every treatment, every hospital stay, every moment until the end. Carol had known about the money, the inheritance from my grandfather, the patents he'd held on mechanical innovations that still generated royalties, the $12 million I'd inherited when he died 40 years ago. Carol had been with me when I was young and broke. She'd married me when I had nothing but a dream of owning a garage. She'd worked 2 jobs to help me buy my first shop. And when the money came, when grandfather died and left me everything, Carol didn't change, didn't demand a mansion or a yacht or diamonds. She just smiled and said, "Now you can stop worrying about money and focus on what makes you happy." So I did. I kept running my garage, kept my modest lifestyle, invested the money quietly, bought commercial properties, built wealth without showing it, lived below my means because that's what made me happy. Carol understood. She was the same way. We lived comfortably but not extravagantly, saved money, donated to charities, lived a good, quiet life. Then she died, and I was alone and lonely and stupid. I met Denise at a car show. She was young, 52 to my 61 at the time, pretty, interested in me. Or so I thought. She'd asked about my cars, seemed impressed by the Mustang, said she loved a man who worked with his hands, who built things, who was real. We dated 6 months. I proposed because I didn't want to be alone anymore, because I thought maybe I could have companionship again. Not love like Carol, but something. Denise said yes. We got married, small ceremony. Just us and a justice of the peace. I didn't tell her about the money, didn't mention the inheritance, didn't explain that the mechanic's garage I owned was actually a building worth $2 million, that I owned 12 other commercial properties, that I had investments worth $10 million. I wanted to see if she'd love me, not for money, not for what I could give her, just for me. She failed the test, spectacularly. 3 months into the marriage, she started complaining about the house being too small, about my truck being too old, about us not going on expensive vacations, about me spending money on that stupid car instead of on her. I'd tried to make her happy, took her to nice dinners, bought her jewelry, paid for a spa weekend, but it was never enough. She always wanted more. And now she'd sold my car, changed my locks, blocked my number, filed for divorce, because she thought I was broke, thought the car was my only valuable possession, thought she could take it and run to her rich boyfriend and upgrade her life. She had no idea who she'd married, what I actually owned, what I was capable of, and I was about to teach her the most expensive lesson of her life. "Ray," I said, closing the folder, "call Margaret Sullivan. Tell her I need to see her first thing tomorrow morning. Tell her to bring the prenup, and tell her it's time to activate the plan." Raymond smiled. "You're really going to do it?" "Oh, I'm doing it. Denise wants a divorce. She's going to get one, just not the one she's expecting." I spent the night in that motel room. Raymond got the room next door, said he wasn't leaving me alone when I was this angry. Smart man, my brother. I didn't sleep, just lay on the scratchy motel bedspread and thought about the past 8 years, about all the signs I'd ignored, all the red flags I'd dismissed because I didn't want to be alone. Denise had never loved me. I knew that now. Maybe I'd always known it. Maybe I just didn't want to admit it. She'd loved the idea of me, the garage owner, the skilled mechanic. She'd probably thought I had money hidden away, classic cars, valuable tools, a profitable business. When she realized I lived modestly, drove an old truck, wore the same clothes for years, she'd gotten disappointed, started looking for a way out, started looking for someone better. She'd found Bradley, luxury car salesman, probably drove fancy cars, wore expensive suits, talked about money and success and all the things Denise wanted. She'd planned her exit. Waited for me to leave town, sold my car, filed for divorce, changed the locks, probably told Bradley she'd get the house in the divorce, sell it, split the proceeds. They'd use the money to start their new life together. What she didn't know was that the house was mine, bought before marriage, title in my name only. She had no legal claim to it. What she didn't know was that I'd made her sign a prenup. She'd complained about it, said it showed I didn't trust her. But my lawyer, Margaret, had insisted. "Protect your assets, Vincent. especially from a second marriage. Denise had signed it, barely read it, just scribbled her signature and moved on. Probably thought it didn't matter since I was broke anyway. The prenup was ironclad, stated clearly that any assets owned before marriage remained separate property. That spousal support would be limited to 1 year maximum, that neither party could claim the other's possessions or earnings. Margaret had written it to protect my secret wealth. Denise thought it was protecting my garage and truck. Tomorrow, I'd meet with Margaret. Review the prenup. Look at Rita's investigation report. Start building my case. Not just a divorce case. A case that would show Denise exactly who she'd married, what she'd thrown away, what she'd lost by being greedy. At 7 a.m., Raymond knocked on my door. "Margaret can see you at 9. I'm buying breakfast. Get dressed." We went to a diner. I ordered coffee and eggs. Couldn't really taste anything. Just went through the motions. "You okay?" Raymond asked. "Not even close." For what it's worth, I never liked her. Denise. She always looked at you like you were a wallet. Not a person. You could have said something. Would you have listened? No. That's why I didn't say anything. You had to figure it out yourself. I just made sure you had a good lawyer and a private investigator for when you did. You've been planning for this. I've been preparing for this. There's a difference. I hoped I was wrong. Hoped Denise would turn out to be better than she seemed. But I prepared in case she wasn't. Does Margaret know about the money? Margaret's known for 30 years. She's the one who helped you set up the trusts, the properties, the investments. She knows everything. And the prenup was written to protect all of it. Denise signed away any claim to $12 million and didn't even know it. I sipped my coffee. It was too hot, burned my tongue. I didn't care. What about the car? Can I get it back? Margaret will handle that. The sale was fraudulent, forged signature. You can report it stolen, get the buyer's information, work with police to recover it. Or you can claim it on insurance. You have it insured for full replacement value, right? I did. $150,000. The actual value of a fully restored '67 Mustang in mint condition. I'd been paying premiums for years. So Denise sold it for $30,000. I'll get $150,000 from insurance, and she committed fraud in the process. Exactly. The buyer got scammed. Denise committed a crime, and you come out ahead financially. I don't want to come out ahead financially. I want my car back. I know. But think strategically, Vince. The car can be replaced. What matters is that Denise exposed herself, showed you who she really is. Handed you grounds for divorce and criminal charges. She gave you everything you need to end this marriage on your terms. He was right. The car was material, replaceable. What mattered was that I now had proof, evidence, leverage. At 9 a.m., we walked into Margaret Sullivan's law office. She'd been my attorney since I inherited the money, knew every detail of my finances, had helped me structure everything to be protected and private. She was 66 now, sharp as ever. She stood when we entered, shook my hand firmly. "Vincent, I'm sorry this is happening, but I'm not surprised. You saw this coming? I saw red flags 8 years ago when you wanted to marry her. I insisted on the prenup because something felt off. Turns out my instincts were correct." We sat in her conference room. She spread documents across the table. The prenup. Property deeds, trust documents, bank statements, investment portfolios. "This is what you own," she said. "This is what Denise thinks you own." She pointed to two very different piles. The pile Denise knew about. One house, one garage building, one truck, one Mustang, now sold. Maybe $50,000 in a checking account. The pile Denise didn't know about. 12 commercial properties worth approximately $18 million. Investment accounts worth $9 million. Royalty income of roughly $200,000 per year. Total net worth $27 million. I'd been a secret multimillionaire for 40 years, and my wife of 8 years had no idea. The prenup protects all of it, Margaret said. Everything you owned before marriage stays yours. Everything you earned during marriage stays yours because it all came from premarital assets. She gets nothing. What about the house? She's claiming it. She has no claim. Your name on the deed. Bought in 1988. She moved in 8 years ago. She's been a guest, not an owner. She changed the locks. That's illegal. You can call the police right now. Have them force her to let you back in. Or you can wait. Let her think she's won. Then hit her with reality when she least expects it. I want to wait. Good, because that's the strategic play. She's filed for divorce. Her lawyer will send demands. She'll claim she deserves half. We'll pretend to negotiate. Then in depositions, we'll reveal your actual assets. And watch her face when she realizes she signed away millions. What about the car? Report it to your insurance. Claim the full $150. File a police report for fraud and forgery. Let Denise get charged if the DA wants to prosecute. Use it as leverage in the divorce. And her boyfriend, Bradley Hoffman? Margaret smiled. Rita investigated him too. Want to see? She pulled out another folder. Bradley Hoffman's financials. He was broke. The Mercedes was leased. The fancy apartment was 3 months behind on rent. He had $60,000 in credit card debt. His car sales job barely covered his lifestyle. He was drowning. He targeted Denise because he thought she had money, or would have money after divorcing me. He was using her the same way she'd used me. It was almost poetic. So here's what's going to happen, Margaret said. Denise's lawyer will send demands. We'll respond with poverty claims. Say you barely have anything. Play poor. Make her think she's getting crumbs. She'll probably accept because she doesn't want to fight over nothing. And then in the deposition, we reveal everything. Show the judge your real assets. Show the prenup. Show that Denise gets nothing. Watch her try to back out of the divorce she initiated. She can back out? She can try. But once you file counterclaims based on her fraud and adultery, the divorce is happening on your terms, not hers. How long will this take? 3 to 6 months. Maybe less if she doesn't fight. Maybe more if she tries to contest the prenup. But Vincent, that prenup is bulletproof. She signed it. It's valid. She's getting nothing. I sat back in the chair. Let it all sink in. Denise had sold my car thinking she was taking my only valuable asset. She was getting $150,000 for me and criminal charges for herself. She'd filed for divorce thinking she'd get the house. She was getting evicted. She'd blocked my number thinking I was powerless. She had no idea I had the best lawyer in the state and evidence of her affair. She'd run to Bradley thinking he was rich. He was broker than she thought I was. She'd played herself, completely, totally, irreversibly, and I was going to let her realize it slowly, painfully, publicly. Let's do this, I said. All of it, the strategic way. Let her think she's won, then show her what she really lost. Margaret smiled. Vincent, I've been waiting 8 years to protect you from this woman. It's going to be my pleasure. After the meeting with Margaret, Raymond drove me to a storage unit across town. One I'd rented under an LLC name, one Denise didn't know existed. Inside were boxes, files, documents from 40 years of careful financial management. "Why are we here?" I asked. "Because you need to remember why you kept the secret, why you never told Denise, why you lived the way you did." He pulled out a box labeled 1983. Opened it. Inside were old letters, documents, photos. My grandfather, William Carter, stern-looking man with kind eyes, brilliant mechanical engineer, inventor, holder of 17 patents. He died in 1983. I was 29 years old, working as a mechanic, barely making ends meet. Carol was pregnant with our son. We were happy but struggling. Then the lawyer called. Said grandfather had left me everything, the patents, the royalties, the investments, $12 million, $12 million in 1983 money. Worth maybe $30 million in today's dollars, but I'd invested it well, grown it, protected it. "I remember the day you got the news," Raymond said. "You called me, said you didn't know what to do. That much money scared you." It did scare me, still does sometimes. Money changes people. I saw what it did to my cousins. They got their inheritance and blew through it in 5 years. Drugs, gambling, bad investments. They ended up worse off than before. So you made a different choice. I made Carol's choice. She said we should live like we didn't have it. Keep working, keep our life normal, use the money to be secure, not showy. So that's what we did. I pulled out another box. Inside were tax returns from 30 years of careful management, conservative investments, rental properties, municipal bonds, nothing flashy, nothing risky. Just steady growth. Carol knew everything, I said. Every dollar, every investment, every property. We made decisions together. She helped me stay grounded, reminded me that money was a tool, not a trophy. She was a good woman. The best. And when she died, I thought about changing, thought about selling the garage, traveling, spending the money. But it felt wrong, like betraying her memory. So I kept living the same way, modest, quiet, normal. Until you met Denise. Until I met Denise, and I decided to test her. See if she'd love me without knowing about the money. See if she was real or just another gold digger. She failed the test. She failed spectacularly, but that's on me. I should have told her, should have been honest. Maybe if I'd been upfront, she would have shown her true colors earlier. Saved us both 8 years. Raymond shook his head. Or she would have married you for the money and been really good at hiding her greed. At least this way, you know for certain. She chose to betray you when she thought you were poor. That tells you everything about her character. He was right. If I'd told Denise about the money, she might have stayed, might have played the role of loving wife, might have waited until I died to cash out. This way, she'd exposed herself, shown her true nature, given me grounds to end it cleanly. Did you ever think about telling her? Raymond asked. In 8 years, did you ever almost come clean? Once, about 3 years ago. We were fighting about money. She wanted to take a cruise, expensive one. I said we couldn't afford it. She called me cheap, said I was holding her back. I almost told her then. Almost said, we can afford anything you want, you just don't know it. What stopped you? Her face, the way she looked at me when she thought I was broke, disgusted, disappointed, like I'd tricked her by not being rich. If she'd looked at me with love, despite the money, I would have told her everything. But she didn't. So I kept the secret. And now? Now she's going to learn the most expensive lesson of her life. She married a multi-millionaire, treated him like garbage, sold his car, filed for divorce, all while thinking he was broke. And she's about to find out she signed away every penny. Raymond pulled out one more document, the prenup. I read through it again. Margaret had written it carefully. Every clause protected my premarital assets. Every word was chosen to be enforceable. She signed this without reading it, I said. Most people do. They think prenups are for rich people, that their normal spouse doesn't need one. Denise probably thought you were being paranoid, protecting your garage and truck. She had no idea what she was really signing away. I put the prenup back in the box, looked around the storage unit at 40 years of careful documentation. You know what the sad part is? I said. If Denise had just been patient, if she'd loved me for who I was, stayed loyal, been kind, I would have eventually told her, would have shared everything. We could have had a good life together. But she couldn't wait, couldn't be patient, couldn't see past her greed. And now she gets nothing, while I get to move on with someone who actually deserves it, or stay single. Either way, I'm free. We locked up the storage unit, drove back to the motel. I had 3 days before Denise's lawyer would send the divorce demands. 3 days to prepare, to strategize, to get ready for the battle ahead. I spent those days reviewing files, meeting with Margaret, going over every detail of the case. On day 3, the demands arrived. Email from Denise's attorney, Harold Kramer, decent lawyer, not great, not terrible, just adequate. The email laid out Denise's position. She wanted the house, claimed 8 years of residency gave her equity. She wanted half of all bank accounts. She wanted spousal support, $10,000 a month for 5 years. She wanted half the value of my garage building. She wanted my truck as her vehicle, total demand, approximately $1.2 million plus ongoing support. She thought she was demanding half of my net worth. She was actually demanding about 4%, and she'd get 0. Margaret drafted our response. It was beautiful in its simplicity. Mr. Carter contests all claims. He owns the house outright via premarital purchase. All bank accounts contain premarital funds. The garage building was purchased in 1988. The truck is 15 years old and worth approximately $8,000. Mr. Carter offers Mrs. Carter $10,000 as a settlement to expedite the divorce. This is a one-time offer. If refused, we will proceed to full discovery and depositions. $10,000. That's what I offered the woman who thought she was taking me for over $1 million. Margaret sent it that afternoon. We waited for the response. It came 2 hours later. Denise's lawyer, clearly frustrated. Mrs. Carter rejects the insulting offer of $10,000. She will accept nothing less than $500,000 plus the house or her original demands. If Mr. Carter wishes to avoid a lengthy court battle, he will negotiate in good faith. Good faith from the woman who sold my car and blocked my number. Margaret responded, Mr. Carter maintains his offer of $10,000. If Mrs. Carter wishes to proceed with her demands, we will require full financial disclosure from both parties. Depositions will be scheduled. All assets will be examined. We look forward to discovery. The threat was subtle but clear. If Denise wanted to fight, we'd expose everything, her affair, her fraud, and my actual wealth. Her lawyer didn't respond for 2 days, probably trying to figure out if I was bluffing, trying to determine if there were hidden assets worth fighting for. On day 3, he sent another email. Mrs. Carter insists on proceeding with full discovery. She believes Mr. Carter is hiding assets and income. She will not settle for $10,000. Please provide proposed deposition dates. Perfect. She was walking right into the trap. Margaret sent back dates, 2 weeks out, depositions for both Denise and me. Full financial disclosure required from both parties. Denise would have to reveal her secret bank account, the one funded by Bradley, the one with evidence of her affair spending, and I would have to reveal my actual net worth. $27 million. In front of Denise, her lawyer, court reporters, everyone. The look on her face would be worth every penny of the legal fees. That night, alone in the motel room, I thought about how I'd met Denise, about all the signs I'd ignored because I was lonely. It was 9 years ago. 1 year after Carol died. I was 60 years old, grieving, lost, going through the motions of life without really living. Raymond had dragged me to a classic car show, said I needed to get out, see people, stop sitting in my garage alone every night. I'd gone reluctantly, walked around looking at cars I'd seen 100 times, talked to people I'd known for years, felt empty. Then I saw her, Denise, standing in front of a 1969 Camaro, wearing tight jeans and a leather jacket, looking at the car like she understood it. Beautiful machine, I'd said. Small talk, nothing more. She'd turned and smiled. I love classic cars. There's something about them, the craftsmanship, the attention to detail. You don't see that anymore. We'd talked for an hour about cars, about restoration, about the difference between original parts and reproductions. She'd seemed knowledgeable, interested, real. "Are you a collector?" I'd asked. "No, I just appreciate them. My father used to restore cars when I was little. I'd help him, hand him tools, learn about engines. It's one of my best memories." That story was probably a lie. Looking back, everything about that day was calculated. The outfit, the location, the conversation, all designed to hook a lonely widower with a classic car. I'd asked for her number. She'd given it. We'd gone for coffee the next week. She'd asked about my work. I'd told her I owned a garage. Restored cars, did mechanical work. She'd seemed impressed. "A man who works with his hands," she'd said. "That's rare these days. Most men just push paper. You actually build things, create things. That's attractive." More calculated words. Saying exactly what a grieving mechanic wanted to hear. We'd dated 6 months. She'd been attentive, interested in my stories, asked about Carol, seemed understanding of my grief. "Take your time," she'd said. "I'm not going anywhere. We can move at whatever pace you need." Red flag number 1. She moved into my house after 3 months, said her lease was up, said it didn't make sense to pay rent when we were together all the time anyway. I'd agreed because I didn't want to be alone in the house where Carol had died. Red flag number 2. She'd quit her job after 5 months, said the commute was too long, said she'd find something closer. Never did. Started living off my income. I'd paid for everything, groceries, bills, her car payment, everything. Red flag number 3. She'd started criticizing my lifestyle. "Why do you drive such an old truck? Why don't we ever go anywhere nice? Why do you spend all your time in that garage?" But I'd ignored the flags, told myself she was just adjusting, that relationships took work, that I should be grateful someone wanted to be with me at 60 years old. I'd proposed after 6 months. Small ring, nothing fancy. She'd said yes, but I'd seen the disappointment when she saw the ring. saw her compare it to her friends' engagement rings, saw her realize I wasn't the wealthy car collector she'd hoped for. "We should get a prenup," I'd said, "just to protect us both." She'd been angry. "Why? Don't you trust me? Are you planning to divorce me already?" "It's just smart. Margaret insists. She says second marriages should always have prenups." "Your lawyer doesn't trust me." "My lawyer doesn't know you." "But she's protecting me, and protecting you too. If something happens to me, the prenup makes sure you're taken care of according to our agreement, not according to state law." She'd signed it, barely read it, just scribbled her name and pushed it back across the table. "There. Happy now? Your precious assets are protected from your gold-digger wife." I should have called off the wedding right then, should have seen the bitterness, the resentment, the anger that I wasn't rich enough for her. But I didn't. I married her. Small ceremony, justice of the peace, Raymond and a neighbor as witnesses. No honeymoon because Denise said she didn't want to go anywhere cheap. The first year was okay. We got along, had dinners together, watched TV, lived parallel lives in the same house. The second year, she started complaining more about money, about my truck, about never going anywhere, about me spending too much time in the garage working on the Mustang. "You love that car more than you love me," she'd said once. "That's not true," I'd replied, but maybe it was. The car never complained, never demanded, never made me feel insufficient. By year 3, she was barely home, out with friends, shopping, getting her nails done, hair done, spending money I gave her without appreciation or acknowledgement. Year 4, she started staying out late, coming home after midnight, smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. I'd suspected then, but I hadn't wanted to know, hadn't wanted another failed relationship, another loss. Year 5, I'd hired Rita, asked her to follow Denise, find out if my suspicions were true. Rita had delivered 6 months of documentation, photos, bank records, phone logs, everything. I'd sat on that information for 3 years, waiting, watching, trying to decide what to do. Part of me wanted to confront her, throw her out, end it immediately. But another part wanted to see how far she'd go, how much she'd take, what she'd do if she thought she could get away with it. So I'd waited. Let her think I was oblivious. Let her plan her exit. Let her sell my car and file for divorce. And now I had everything I needed. Evidence of her affair, proof of her fraud, documentation of her greed. 8 years of marriage to a woman who never loved me, who only wanted what she thought I had, who left the moment she thought she could take enough to start over. It was sad, pathetic, really. But it was also clarifying. I'd spent 8 years testing Denise. She'd failed every single test. Proven she was exactly what I'd feared, a gold digger who'd married the wrong mark. And now she was about to pay for it, not with money she'd never get, but with humiliation, embarrassment, the knowledge that she'd thrown away millions because she couldn't wait, couldn't be patient, couldn't see past her greed. Tomorrow, depositions started. Tomorrow, Denise would sit across from me and my lawyer and reveal her affair, her secret accounts, her plans to take my assets. And then I'd reveal mine. $27 million. Properties she'd never known about. Investments she'd never suspected. A fortune she'd lived next to for 8 years without knowing it existed. The look on her face would be worth every penny. And when she realized the prenup meant she got nothing, when she understood what she'd thrown away, When Bradley left her because she had no money to offer him, that would be justice. Not violent revenge, not cruelty, just natural consequences. She'd chosen greed over loyalty, deception over honesty, a fake rich boyfriend over a real rich husband. And she'd lose everything because of it. I fell asleep that night with a smile on my face. First time I'd smiled in 8 years of marriage. Tomorrow, the real story began. Tomorrow, Denise learned who she'd really married, and I couldn't wait to see her face when she figured it out. The 2 weeks before depositions felt like the longest of my life. Not because I was nervous, because I was ready. Ready to stop pretending, ready to stop playing poor, ready to show Denise exactly who she'd married. Margaret spent those weeks preparing me, mock depositions, practice questions, making sure I stayed calm and factual when the truth came out. "They're going to ask about your assets," she said during one session. "Denise's lawyer will ask directly. Mr. Carter, what is your current net worth? You'll answer honestly. $27 million. Don't smile. Don't gloat. Just state it as fact. And when Denise reacts, you stay calm. You don't engage. You answer every question truthfully. Yes, you own 12 commercial properties. Yes, you have $9 million in investments. Yes, you've been receiving royalty income for 40 years. All facts, all documented, all protected by the prenup." We practiced 20 times. Each time, Margaret played Denise's lawyer. Each time, I answered the same way. Calm, factual, unshakable. Meanwhile, Rita continued her investigation. She'd been following Bradley Hoffman, documenting his financial situation, building a picture of the man Denise thought would save her. Rita brought her final report 3 days before depositions. "Bradley Hoffman is drowning," she said, spreading photos across Margaret's conference table. "He's 3 months behind on rent. The Mercedes lease company sent a repo notice. He has 4 credit cards maxed out. He's been borrowing money from friends. He's desperate." "Does Denise know?" I asked. "She has no idea. He's been lying to her the same way she lied to you. Shows up in the leased Mercedes, takes her to expensive restaurants and puts it on credit cards he can't pay. Wears designer clothes bought with money he doesn't have. Classic con artist. So he's using her. Completely. He thinks when her divorce is final, she'll get money. A settlement, the house, something. He's planning to borrow from her to pay his debts, then probably disappear when he realizes there's nothing to take. They deserve each other." "They really do," Rita agreed. I also found something else. Text messages between Denise and Bradley, planning what they'll do with her money, talking about trips, a new condo, a boat. They've already spent money she doesn't have. She showed me screenshots, messages that made my blood boil and my satisfaction grow at the same time. "Denise, once the divorce is final, we'll have at least $500K, maybe more if his lawyer is bad. We can finally live the life we deserve." Bradley, "I'm already looking at condos. Found a nice place downtown, $3K a month. We can afford it easy with your settlement." Denise, "I can't wait to be done with Vincent. He's been holding me back for 8 years. Finally, I can breathe." Bradley, "You deserve better, baby. A real man. Someone who can give you the life you want." I handed the phone back to Rita. "Can we use these in the deposition?" "Absolutely. They show premeditation, planning, intent to defraud, and they'll destroy any sympathy the judge might have for Denise." Margaret added them to our evidence file, along with photos of the affair, bank statements showing Denise's secret spending, records of the car sale, everything we needed to bury her claims. The night before depositions, Raymond took me to dinner, a nice steakhouse, his treat. "Tomorrow everything changes," he said, raising his glass. "You ready?" "More than ready. I've been playing poor for 8 years. Tomorrow I get to stop." "How do you think she'll react?" "Shock, then anger. Then panic when she realizes the prenup means she gets nothing. Then probably begging, claiming she didn't know, saying she would have been different if she'd known." "Will you believe her?" "Not for a second. She showed me who she is when she thought I was broke. That's the real Denise. Everything else is just performance." "What about after? After the divorce is final? What will you do?" I thought about that. Honestly, I might travel. See the places Carol and I always talked about visiting. Europe, Australia, Japan. I've got the money, might as well use it. Alone? For now. Maybe someday I'll meet someone real, someone who loves me for me. Not for money, but I'm not in a rush. I'd rather be alone than with another Denise. Amen to that. We finished dinner. Raymond drove me back to the motel. I'd been living there for 2 weeks. Could have gotten a hotel, could have bought a house. But the motel felt right, simple, honest, real. Tomorrow I'd walk into that deposition room as Vincent Carter, mechanic, garage owner, modest widower. And I'd walk out as Vincent Carter, multimillionaire, property owner, man who'd outsmarted his gold-digging wife. I couldn't wait. The deposition was held in a conference room at a law office downtown, neutral territory, court reporter present, everything recorded. I arrived with Margaret and Raymond. Denise was already there with her lawyer, Harold Kramer. She looked confident, pleased with herself, like she'd already won. She was wearing new clothes, expensive blouse, designer purse, all bought with money she thought she'd be getting from me. She didn't even look at me when I walked in, just kept talking to her lawyer, laughing. Acting like this was a formality. We sat on opposite sides of the table. Court reporter in the middle, cameras recording for the record. Harold started. "Mr. Carter, thank you for being here. We're going to ask you some questions about your financial situation. Please answer truthfully. You understand you're under oath?" "I do." "Good. Let's start with your employment. What do you do for a living?" "I'm retired. I used to own a mechanic's garage. Sold it 2 years ago." Denise's head snapped up. "You sold it? When? Why didn't you tell me?" Harold put his hand on her arm. "Let me ask the questions. Mr. Carter, you sold your garage 2 years ago. For how much?" $3 million. Silence. Complete silence. Denise's face went white. $3 million? Harold repeated. "Yes, the building was in a prime location. The buyer wanted the property for development. I accepted their offer." "And what did you do with the $3 million? "Invested it, added it to my existing portfolio." "Existing portfolio. Can you describe that?" Margaret slid a document across the table. "This is a complete financial disclosure, Mr. Carter's current assets, as required by discovery." Harold picked it up, started reading. His eyes got wider with each page. Denise grabbed it from him, started reading. Her hands were shaking. This says you own 12 commercial properties worth $18 million. This says you have $9 million in investment accounts. This says you receive $200,000 a year in royalty income. This can't be real." "It's real," I said calmly. "I inherited money from my grandfather in 1983. $12 million. I invested it conservatively, grew it over 40 years. Current net worth is approximately $27 million. If you've ever watched someone realize they made the biggest mistake of their life, if you've ever seen greed turn to horror in real time, comment with your shocked face emoji. Sometimes karma doesn't need help, it just needs patience. Denise stood up. You've been rich this whole time? This whole time? And you let me think you were broke? You let me live in that small house, drive that old truck, never go anywhere? What kind of sick game were you playing? I wasn't playing a game. I was living my life. The same life I lived with my first wife. The same life I've lived for 40 years. You're the one who assumed I was broke. You're the one who complained about it. You're the one who had an affair and sold my car because you thought I didn't have anything worth staying for. I would have stayed if I'd known. I would have been different. Exactly. You would have pretended to love me for the money. Instead, you showed me you didn't love me at all. You did me a favor. Harold was frantically flipping through the financial disclosure. Mr. Carter, if you have this much wealth, why are you offering my client only $10,000? Margaret answered. Because of this. She slid another document across. The prenuptial agreement, signed by both parties before marriage, states clearly that all premarital assets remain separate property, that spousal support is limited to 1 year maximum at $1,000 per month, that neither party can claim the other's property or earnings. Your client signed away any claim to $27 million on page 3. Paragraph 7. Her signature is right there. Denise grabbed the prenup. Read it. Her face went from white to red. I didn't know what I was signing. You tricked me. I didn't trick you, I said. I gave you a legal document, told you to read it. You chose not to. That's on you. This isn't fair. You lied to me. You pretended to be poor. I never said I was poor. I just didn't tell you I was rich. There's a difference. And everything I owned before I met you. The prenup protects that. Legal, binding, enforceable. Harold was reading the prenup now. His face showed he knew his case was dead. We'll contest this. Claim fraud. Claim she signed under duress. Good luck, Margaret said. The prenup was reviewed by independent counsel. Mrs. Carter had 2 weeks to consider it before signing. She signed voluntarily. No fraud, no duress. Just a choice she regrets now that she knows what she signed away. Denise was crying. Real tears this time. Not manipulation, not performance. Real devastation. Vincent, please, we can work this out. I made mistakes. I'll end things with Bradley. We can start over. Please. No. I'm begging you. Don't do this. I'll be left with nothing. You'll be left with exactly what you brought into this marriage. Nothing, because you came in with nothing, and you're leaving with nothing. Fair is fair. What about the car? My car? I need a car. The car you sold was mine. I've already filed an insurance claim. I'll receive $150,000 for it. And I've filed a police report for fraud and forgery. Your buyer is cooperating with investigators. You might face criminal charges. Her crying got louder. Harold tried to calm her down. Mrs. Carter, please, let me handle this. But there was nothing to handle. The prenup was valid. My assets were protected. Denise had no claim to anything. Margaret continued. We're also entering evidence of Mrs. Carter's affair with Bradley Hoffman, photos, bank statements, text messages planning how to spend settlement money she won't receive. This demonstrates bad faith, fraud, intent to deceive. The judge will see all of it." Denise looked at me with pure hatred. "You set me up. You planned this whole thing." "I didn't set you up. I gave you 8 years to show me who you were. You showed me. A woman who married me thinking I had money. Got disappointed when she thought I didn't. Had an affair with a man she thought was rich. Sold my car and filed for divorce. That's all you. I just documented it." Harold stood up. "We need a recess to discuss options with my client." "Take all the time you need," Margaret said. "The outcome won't change. Mrs. Carter gets nothing. The only question is whether she accepts it gracefully or fights and loses publicly." They left the room. Denise was sobbing. Harold was already distancing himself, probably calculating how to get off the case before it destroyed his reputation. Raymond squeezed my shoulder. "You did good, stayed calm, stayed factual. She fell apart." She fell apart because reality hit her. She gambled on Bradley being rich and me being poor. She was wrong on both counts. Margaret was smiling. "Vincent, that was perfect. Everything we needed on record." Her admission she would have stayed if she'd known about the money, her begging, her complete breakdown. The judge will see she's motivated by greed, not genuine love or loss. You're going to get everything you want. I just want her gone, out of my house, out of my life. She can have the $10,000 in a year of support. That's more than generous given what she did. Agreed. When they come back, I'll make it clear. Accept the offer or get nothing and face criminal charges for the car fraud. Her choice. 20 minutes later, they returned. Denise looked broken, defeated. Harold looked resigned. "My client accepts the settlement offer," he said quietly. $10,000 lump sum, $12,000 in support over 1 year. She vacates the residence within 30 days. No further claims. "Agreed," Margaret said. "We'll draft the settlement. Both parties sign. Divorce finalized in 60 days. Denise looked at me one last time. "I hope you're happy. You destroyed my life. You destroyed your own life. I just stopped protecting you from the consequences." She left without another word. Harold followed, already planning his exit from the case. When they were gone, Margaret turned to me. "Congratulations. You're about to be a free man." "How long before it's final?" 60 days. She'll sign the settlement this week. Judge will approve it. Divorce decree issued. You'll never have to see her again." "What about the house? Getting back in?" "She has to vacate in 30 days. But we can get you back in sooner. Tomorrow if you want. It's your house. Your name on the deed. She has no right to keep you out." "Tomorrow." "I want back in my house tomorrow." "Done. I'll have the locksmith there at 9 a.m. New locks, your house, your life. Back." Raymond and I left the deposition building. Walked to his car. Didn't speak until we were on the highway. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Free. For the first time in 8 years, I feel free." "What about Denise? Feel bad for her at all?" "Not even a little. She made her choices. She has to live with them. I'm done feeling responsible for her happiness. Done pretending to be something I'm not. Done hiding who I am to test people's loyalty." "What will you do now?" "Live. Really live. The way Carol and I always planned. Travel, donate, help people. Maybe find someone real. Maybe stay single. Either way, I'll do it honestly. No more secrets. No more tests. Just me. Take it or leave it." Good man. That night, I slept in a real hotel. Nice one. Expensive room. Ordered room service. Watched TV on a huge screen. Took a long, hot shower. For 8 years, I'd lived like I was poor to test Denise. She'd failed. Now I could stop pretending. Tomorrow, I'd move back into my house, change the locks, reclaim my space, start over. And Denise? She'd lost everything. The house, the money, the security, and probably Bradley too, once he realized she wasn't getting a settlement. Karma had handled my revenge better than I ever could have. Thank you for watching this story. If it reminded you never to underestimate quiet people, never to judge someone's worth by their appearance, never to let greed destroy what could be good, please share it. Subscribe to Elder Justice Revenge Stories for more real-life emotional stories that prove patience is power. Truth always surfaces, and people who play games always lose in the end. Hit that notification bell. Remember, when someone shows you who they really are, believe them. When someone loves you for what they think you have instead of who you are, let them go. And when greed makes people throw away gold to chase brass, just smile and let karma do the rest. The quietest revenge is watching someone realize what they lost when it's too late to get it back.